Is Haaland ready to haul against Bournemouth? Will there be pain without Kane? And why we all need to stay calm ahead of FPL Game Week 2. Well, Game Week 1 did not disappoint, did it? Hello and welcome back to your second weekly dose of podcast action from the Premier League. We hope you enjoyed the debut Off the Bench podcast with Lee Bonfield and Gianni Buttice on Monday. They reacted to everything that happened in Game Week 1. Now myself, Kelly Summers, Sam Bonfield and Julian Laurens are back with the FPL pod to look ahead to Game Week 2. And this week, we also have the man we call the GOAT of FPL from FPL Black Box. It's Mark Southerns. Mark, how was Game Week 1? And let's just get this out of the way. Game Week 1 with no Mo Salah.
Yes, thank you very much. And the results of going no Salah is a pretty miserable game week, which probably a lot of people could have told me. Disappointing, 51 points. I wasn't particularly happy with that. I think I can claim I was unlucky. Spurs won 4-1. I had Son and Kane and got one assist. How often does that happen? But there you go. I'm struggling from the off, but I'm sure there's plenty of time to claw it back.
There is just one game week, 37 game weeks still to go. Also, I was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as I said on last week's pod, and I just couldn't believe quite what I was seeing. So as Kane owners, we're all Kane owners on the pod, we all had the same problem. Jules, hello to you. Firstly, let's get this out of the way. Somehow you are the highest scoring person on this week's show.
Why have you told him this, Kelly?
Not surprising at all, I would say. My Erling Haaland pick at the last minute, literally, I took my little one, my youngest one, to see this is Super League of Pets or Super Pets, whatever. I usually fall asleep when I'm watching that, but every time I was watching the screen, I could see Erling Haaland's face saying like, pick me, Jules, pick me. So I changed everything literally the last minute to bring him in the team. And I was very happy when he scored against West Ham. I had a feeling he would score.
Did you have Harry Kane, Jules?
Yeah, did you go without him?
No, I kept Kane.
You kept
And
Kane?
Salah.
How did you fit them both in?
Kane, Jesus, and Haaland. Then the rest is like players like Mark Southerns and me and Kelly and Sam, basically.
Yeah. He'll struggle now. He won't have a good week this time. He can't keep doing that. You got three. You got Jesus, Kane, and Haaland up front.
Yeah. And I felt I was
he's got Mo
unlucky
Salah.
and Mo Salah, of course. Yeah. But I mean, the thing is I had the feeling that Haaland would score. I thought Kane would do well, and I think Jesus was a bit unlucky as well. But yeah, the problem is he unbalances your team massively. But I'm happy with the 67 points, which is again, more than all of you here.
It's going to be a long podcast, this.
Come on, Sam, let's move on. Let's talk about your game week and what you learnt from it, because my game week was frustrating. I know we've spoken since, and I think you kind of felt the same.
Yeah, it was one of those game weeks, wasn't it? I think sometimes, and let's caveat this with, normally my game week 1 scores are terrible. I don't seem to be able to get game week 1 right. And I think in part that's because I often think slightly more longer term with my team. I'm kind of looking beyond these fixtures and what the team might look like over maybe the first 3, 4, 5 game weeks of the season. So sometimes that means that the team aren't necessarily fully focusing on game week 1 and being the best team they can. Having said that, I really did think that this team were going to do well in game week 1, and there were a lot of players, take Kane, for example. We've just spoken about him already. How often is it that Spurs score 4 goals and Kane gets absolutely nothing? I mean, that very, very rarely happens. I was really shocked by Aston Villa. Really expected better from them going into this week. And there were just a number of players, I got unlucky a bit with Luis Diaz. He probably should have returned in that first half and didn't. And then, of course, the Liverpool defence just didn't go well either. So a lot of lessons learned. But I also think that it's one of those moments where you can't just throw away a whole pre-season's worth of planning because one game week didn't go well. You have to kind of stick faith with the players that you've got. Don't panic and move on, knowing that you picked them for a reason.
There will be managers panicking, Mark. There'll probably be a lot of new managers who maybe are playing the game for the very first time and they're looking at their game week 1 score and they are thinking that is just not enough to set me up for the season. What would you say to them? Would you advocate a wild card or would you just say stay calm?
I think you've got to stay calm. I mean, we know the least at this point. 1 game week in, we've seen tactical tweaks from both Liverpool and City, I think, to accommodate Haaland and Darwin. And we need a few more weeks to see how that shakes out. And all the teams are going through some level of transition. There's new players coming in as well with the transfer window still open. So I think the time for the wild card and the rehash is 4 or 5 game weeks away yet. So just hold firm. You pick your 15 with knowing that they were good players. Keep faith with them. Obviously, make sure you have a big player to captain for the future game week. So you've got to have Haaland or Salah, I think, for this game week, for example. But just keep faith because there's such a long way to go and there's still a lot of change to come too.
Yeah, though, don't forget, if you are really unhappy with your team, it's a bit of a different season this year, isn't it? Because we have the 2 wildcards, plus we also have unlimited transfers during the World Cup. That said, I think the message from everyone is just stay calm.